Hi, everybody. Today I will be speaking about options for parents to come to Australia and stay short term and long term. So, we're going to be catering not only parents' visa options in their classic way, but also any alternative options for parents. My name is Yulia Moiseeva, and I'm a registered migration agent. My agency is located on the Gold Coast, Queensland, and me and my team of workers assisting anyone in the world or within Australia to map the strategy according to your specific case and then pretty much execute that strategy so you will reach permanent residency at the end. We're dealing with all the visas except protection and refugee visas. So our approach is also to have a fair and share options for the applicant according to their circumstances, needs, and plan for life. So they will have an opportunity to choose which one according to their risks factors or according to their plans, how quickly they would like to pretty much relocate to Australia. So today I will be speaking not only about the parents' visa in the classic way, but any other alternatives, how to bring parents in Australia. So before we start, let's start with very important information that just recently, Department of Home Affairs confirmed that they're going to be giving priority for onshore applications over offshore applications. And if we're going to be looking at previous year statistics, nearly 95% of classic parents' visa were lodged offshore and only 5% was lodged onshore. So that's a very disbalanced approach. However, all these people who are lodged offshore will be not prioritized and onshore applications will be prioritized. So according to the statistics from 1st of July 2025, department had in hands around 157,000 parents' visas in the loop in the queue. And just a reminder that for current program year 2026-2027, we only have 7,000 places available. So the queue will be bigger and bigger. The question in the air will be how department will be able to manage that and any other solutions they may offer. So Australia is one of those countries who still allows parents visas, but as you can see, the duration of wait is way too long, regardless of whether you're paying the extra fees or not. So we noticed that there are a little slight increase of rejection rate from 6% to nearly 8.5%. So the potential problem why the rejection can happen is obviously one of the factors health issues that can develop throughout time, and obviously every parent not getting younger, and if we're having a queue of 14 years, anything can happen, and hence if the person will not satisfy criteria for health check at the end of the process, so unfortunately the visa will not be granted. So let's discuss first of all standard scenarios for parents' visas. Regardless of the status of the child, you can always invite your parents under 600 visa tourist stream, or if your parents are from the country where e-visas are available, something like 651 visa or 601 visa, depending on the country of passport. You can arrange those visas at any time, regardless of your status. Of course, just a reminder, if yourself applied for protection visas, it's unlikely the parents will be allowed to enter the country. So that's a complete dead end. If we're talking about standard scenarios, say you are on student visa, graduate visa, employed sponsored visa, partner visa, so you can invite your parents to stay in Australia for 3, 6, and up to 12 months. So usually practical solution is to start with 3 months to see if the visa will be granted, and then obviously comply with visa conditions and see if the parents like it here. That moment, when the child becomes permanent residents, for example, through skilled visas, through employer-sponsored visa, partner visa. And if the balance of family test is satisfied, where 50% of children for those parent couple will have to be in Australia in the status of permanent residents or Australian citizens. And if that child has been in Australia for at least 2 years in Australia physically, so it can be you've been 2 years, say, since you get your temporary visa, but then you just get permanent residency. So 2 years is usually enough to be settled, or you can apply early if you can show that you are already settling. Meaning, so if you have a child who is permanent resident or Australian citizen, balance of family test is satisfied, then your parent is any age, so it doesn't matter what age, you can consider 2 visa options. For 143, it's a contributory parents visa, where you will be committed to pay really high government fees at the end of the process when the visa will be about to be granted. Or 103, similar visa but non-contributory. So non-contributory meaning you're not going to be paying major government fees at the end, but at the same time your processing will be stretched for even longer than 14 years. So roughly for 143 visa, we may be talking about 14 years since lodgement. And then you need to be careful if, for example, your parents, your biological parent have another partner now, and this partner has another children. For example, if you are the only child to your biological parent and the parent's partner might have another 2 children, then the balance of family test will not be satisfied as long as those people are together and applying as a couple. So you need to be careful that not only your parents' children, but your parents' partner's children will be also included in the balance of family test. You need to be mindful on that. So if all these criteria are satisfied, you can consider lodgement of 143 visa at any point. And if this application is lodged from onshore, it's not going to be getting any bridging visa. So that's also a point of consideration. So it's only securing your place in the queue. So securing your place in the queue, it's completing the relevant forms, paying first visa installment fee, and getting your application acknowledged. Once it's acknowledged, it's basically sitting in the queue without any movement. On the stage 2, the applicants will be asked to complete medical examinations, where you need to make sure that the health of your parents are in a good state. Then police clearances will be requested as well. At the same time, for sponsor, which is usually the applicant's child, or applicant's child partner, or any other person, pretty much, the financial assurance will be requested through Centrelink. It's called assurance of support, where pretty much the person who is making this application will have to show at least 2 years of financials with minimum required income. So required income is listed on the government website. You will be able to have a look what's the minimum requirement now, but it's not some extraordinary income. So it's pretty decent average income. In this case, once the assurance of support is completed, pretty much the documents are checked and accepted, and then there may be interview with the person who is giving insurances support. Once it's done, you'll be given an instructions how to lodge the assurance of support, actually open a bank account and lodge the amount of money. For 143 visa for one applicant is $10,000 for 10 years. If there is another additional applicant, say an additional partner, it's going to be plus 4,000, and this money will be stored for 10 years. Unless it's going to be used, you will be able to request a refund after 10 years. So in this case, on stage 2, medicals, police clearances, and assurance of support are checked. If everything is fine and all the requirements are satisfied, then you will be given the last final invoice with visa application charge stage 2. Currently, it's 43,600 per parent. So it's pretty costly exercise. However, that's the quickest possible permanent residency through parent stream you can consider for non-aged parent. Usually, I recommend, if it's a parent who would like to stay longer while waiting for the processing of 143 visa, and there's a consideration that it's going to be no work rights, then you can consider 870 visa, where the child of the parent or child partner can be a formal sponsor with a certain level of income from 83,454.80 cents. So this income will have to be shown through ATO notice of assessment in the recent financial year. And then the sponsor can be either permanent resident with 4 years of being in Australia or Australian citizen. And partner can pretty much sponsor in-laws, so that's possible. This 870 visa can be granted for a maximum period of 10 years in total. So basically, you can do either 3 visas for 3 years or 5-year visa twice. Then this application can be done through 2 stages. First of all, sponsor will have to be assessed and approved, so you can lodge second visa applications. You have to wait until sponsorship is considered and approved. Once that's done, you will have 6 months to lodge offshore application for the visa. For the visa application, the parents need to show that they still have links to home country. They need to complete medicals, if needed, biometrics, and there will be a compulsory medical insurance requested. So there will be no Medicare on this visa. For this visa, the parents will be able to stay up to 3 years if the application is lodged for 3 years. It's going to cost you over 6,370 for one parent for 3 years, or over 12,440 over 5 years stay. So you really need to budget for that. And again, if we're talking about strategy, usually 600 visa as an initial visit, and pretty much testing and trialing whether the parents would like to stay in Australia, whether they like in Australia, then waiting for the child permanent residency status to be granted. Once that's done, you lodge for 143 visa first, and then you can consider 870 visa. Why is that sequence? Because once you lodge and get 870 visa, according to legislation, you will not be able to lodge parents visa from being a holder of 870. So it's important, because even if you go offshore being a holder of 870 visa, you still can't lodge valid parents visa application. And another little thing is 870 visa does not have any balance of family test criteria, which is sometimes can work for any large families where you would like to bring a parent and then consider any other options from 870 visa apart parents visa options. So that's also possible. Another group of parents visa are for aged parents. So at least one parent will have to be 67 plus years old at time of application. So again, we have 2 streams: contributory 864 or non-contributory 804. Both applications will have to be lodged while the parent is physically in Australia. So it's a crucial criteria. And then in order to arrange that, you will have to bring the parent onshore. For this purpose, again, if you are using 600 visa, use tourist stream, and you will have to pretty much gamble whether this application will be approved without no further stay condition. And if it is, then you can arrange parents to come in and lodge the application for age parent visa. Otherwise, if you have a parent who is a citizen of the passport for eligible e-visitor visas, 651 or 601, then it's going to be less problematic to bring them in and then lodge those applications. So after the application is lodged while applicant is in Australia, the bridging visa A will be granted automatically to allow applicant to stay and wait for the decision. So to travel, and funny and luckily enough for aged parent on bridging visas, there will be full work rights. I don't know why department decided to do so for applicants who are over 67. However, that's the case. No Medicare will be attached while waiting for parents' visa, unless obviously you're coming from the country with reciprocal Medicare arrangements. So you need to factor your insurance in, because obviously anything you do in Australia is going to be very expensive, and even top cover insurance will not cover 100%. So you need to be mindful on that. Another option that's not directly related to parents' visa stream, however, parents can be included there. It's age-dependent relative visa 838, where among other relatives can be parents as well. So for this particular visa, parent will have to be aged, so 67 plus, no partner, and then the parent will have to be financially dependent from sponsor for 3 years before the application is made. So that's a significant criteria. However, if that parent satisfies all the criteria, and if that application will be lodged in Australia, the Medicare is possible to be arranged. So that's the beauty of that visa. Consideration time of that visa can be very, very long. So we cannot tell whether the processing will change significantly with the direction from the government to prioritize onshore applications, because there may not be as many applications in that queue for that particular visa. However, we can see it in the future how the queue will be changing. In terms of any other not classic parents' visa scenarios people may not look at, is standard partner visa, where your parent is single and doesn't mind looking at finding a partner in Australia. Again, you can use visitor visa as a first initial step to come to Australia and then have a look whether it's a good fit for your parent. If you're looking at the partner visa, there is no age limit, there is no English requirement, and consideration of the partner visa from temporary to permanent may take around 3.5 years. So it's better option than classic parents visa, that's for sure. However, it's up to the parent to see if they would like to find a partner here or not. The other visas that can be used if your parent is not yet too aged, it's DAMA agreements, where permanent residency application has to be lodged before the primary applicant turns 55. So depending on the occupation and state location, this can be considered as a strategy. If, for example, you have young parents who are still able and capable of working, their occupation is on the list for eligible DAMA, they have decent English, and they can prove their qualification and work experience. So for these factors, again, minding that they're going to find an employer who is going to able to sponsor, then the application can be lodged, and then they can progress to permanent residency before they turn 55. So that's another option. Together with 143 visa that's in the queue, we have a few clients who secured sponsorship and employment not in DAMA regional, but in just location in Australia. For this reason, they can consider 482 employer-sponsored visa while waiting for 143 visa that will allow them to come in the country, have full work rights, start settling, start earning money for their future, etc. So we had clients like that, and it's potentially doable if the applicant meets the criteria for 482 visa, because there is no age limit applicable for that visa. So mainly for 482 visa, in that scenario, it's better off arranging those visas for up to 4 years, maximum years permitted. And then every 4 years, if the employment is still ongoing, and if the basically if sponsorship is still available, the parents can continue on the 482 visa several rounds of 4 years until they wait for 143 visa. So that's possible. Another option, if the parents are coming from either high profile managers who can secure a job with high pay, and high pay, we're talking about high range salary of $190 and $100 at this moment of time, but this salary is indexed every year with increase. So if your parent is coming from high top management and they can secure the job with high salary, being on 482 visas on high salary for 2 years in a row and then transition to permanent residency will allow them to have concession with age criteria on 186 transition. So that's also can be used as a strategy if your parents can fit into criteria. Another strategy, if your parents are running the business, because there is no options for the business people at the moment, and if your parents are keen to transfer their business to Australia and basically set up the branch and then continue on running the business, the option of 482 visa to 186 transition based on high salary, manager, occupation, etc., potentially possible, depending on where your business is located. So it's also possible to have that as a strategy and potentially even avoid parents' visa whatsoever. So in terms of queue time, as of now, contributor visas are assessed up to November 18 lodgement time. So you see the consideration is very long. If we're talking about parents visa non-contributory or aged parents visa, the consideration is for application made up to February 2014. So it's really significant time in the queue. Pretty much, if you would like to get your chances assessed with our office, we offer free assessment tool. You can check on our website. So you basically completing the form. So we will have the information we need about your case, and we can provide you with initial thoughts, what options can be available for your particular case. Sometimes you can ask yourself and your parents whether the parents are actually considering migrating to Australia at all. And sometimes you may give them this benefit of the doubt and still lodge 143 application to put it in the queue if the parents are young or if the parents don't want to lodge the application quick enough, for example, because time flies and this period may be over and then they change their mind and then the visa can be granted just in time. So it's all a very long process, and to make sure that the process is as smooth as possible, we recommend obviously to start integrating into Australian community somehow. If they're coming on the temporary visas, obviously that's going to help the process, learn English and socialize while they can, in order to understand whether Australia will be a good fit for them for the future. So at this moment of time, a lot of visa strategies are not directly and quickly permanent residency. So it's usually through temporary visas or a variety of temporary visas into permanent residency. You need to take into consideration health criteria. You need to take into consideration sponsors' financial ability and ask pretty much wide questions, whether it's all going to work for you and your family. So you can always come back to us and assess your chances. And at this moment of time, I will be looking at the questions in the chat. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post those questions and I'll answer them. Right. My mom is currently in Australia and she has been granted a BVA after applying for 804. She now wants to return to her home country. Does she need to apply for BVB? 600 visa is still valid. So I would secure BVB just in case. And BVBs are currently granted for longer than a year. So you may even have more options to come back on BVB rather than on current valid 600 visa. BVB is currently really increase in prices for lodgement is $575. So, but you will be able to have more time on BVB. Don't forget that once you get the BVB, it will be time validity. So validity when the BVB travel facility will be pretty much finished. You need to plan accordingly, because if the BVB is expiring overseas and applicant is overseas, there is no provision that you can actually extend the BVB while applicant is overseas. So you need to bring the applicant back to Australia before BVB is still valid, and then apply for new BVB, and then you can go back again. So we have a lot of parents who are waiting in the queue for aged parent visa to pretty much coming in Australia, getting BVB for as long as possible, and then going back and mind their business until the next return to Australia and BVB. So this strategy can work. And obviously, as of now, this strategy will work because you will be in the queue for onshore application that can be processed quick enough rather than offshore application. So this will work. Definitely. So thank you very much for watching our webinar about options to bring parents in Australia. So classic standard parents visas and alternative options for parents visa. I remind you that we have already conducted several targeted webinars for a variety of different visa subclasses, including students, visitors, partners, employer-sponsored visas. And we are having another 2 upcoming webinars dedicated to working holiday and skilled visas. So if you need any more opportunities to participate in our webinars, please you can register for upcoming webinars, or you can listen to recorded webinars available on our channel. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and watching. I wish you have a great day wherever you are.